The westbound train whistled low as it pulled away from the dusty station, leaving behind a single bench, a swirl of steam, and a young woman clutching a crying baby to her chest. The woman's dress was plain and travel-worn, her hair pinned neatly though strands had escaped in the wind. Her hands trembled as she looked down the empty tracks. No one waved goodbye. No one was coming for her. The station master, an old man named Carver, leaned in the doorway of his office and watched her. "Ma'am," he said gently, "train to Denver won't come again till Wednesday. You need a place to stay." She shook her head. I don't have money for a room." "Then where you headed?" She swallowed hard. "I was told someone would meet me here. Said they'd take the baby. But they didn't come." Carver frowned. "You kin to the child?" "No, sir. Just promised I'd keep her safe." The old man sighed and scratched his chin. "Town's kind enough. Sheriff will help you sort it." But she didn't move. She sat back on the bench, rocking the child as the last echo of the train faded into the plains. By sundown, the platform was empty except for her. She hadn't eaten since morning, hadn't spoken since Carver brought her a cup of water. The baby whimpered against her shoulder, and she hummed softly, a tune she half remembered from somewhere far away. That was when she heard boot steps. A tall man stood at the far end of the platform, hat pulled low, dust on his coat from a long ride. He carried no gun on his hip, just a coil of rope and the quiet air of someone used to working alone. He stopped a few feet away. "You waitin' on someone?" She looked up, wary but not afraid. "I was. They didn't come." He nodded slowly. "Name's Luke Callahan. Came for a freight delivery. Looks like it ain't here yet." He tilted his head. "You lookin' for work?" Her lips parted. "Work? You look like you could use some, and I sure got plenty." She clutched the baby tighter. "I can cook clean, so. But I can't leave her." Luke's eyes softened. "Wouldn't ask you to. Ain't my business why you're here, miss. Just seems wrong leavin' you on a platform with a babe and no roof." The wind picked up, carrying the smell of rain. After a long pause, she nodded. "All right, but just until I find where I belong." He gave a faint smile. "Reckon you'll find something on the way." Luke's ranch sat 3 miles west of town, a wide stretch of grassland hemmed by the river. He lived there with 2 ranch hands and a collie named Buck. The men looked up in surprise when Luke rode in leading a wagon with a woman and baby in the back. "Boss finally found himself a wife," one joked. Luke ignored him. "This here's Claire," he said simply. "She'll be helpin' around the house a while." Claire, that was the name she'd given him, though she wasn't sure it was hers. It was the only one that came to her lips when he'd asked on the ride. The days settled into quiet rhythm. Claire rose before dawn, fixing coffee and biscuits while Luke and the hands saddled horses. She tended the baby, then mended clothes, scrubbed floors, and helped in the kitchen garden. Luke said little, but when he spoke, his words carried weight. He showed her where the well drew best, how to keep the stove breathing right, where to hang the washing to catch wind without dust. At night, when the men turned in, Claire would sit on the porch with the baby sleeping in her arms. The prairie stretched endless before her, the stars so bright they looked close enough to touch. Luke sometimes sat nearby, whittling wood or oiling his saddle. "Why so quiet?" she asked one evening. He shrugged. "Talk's never fixed much for me. Work does." She smiled faintly. "Then you must fix a lot." He glanced at her, a hint of humor tugging his mouth. "Some things can't be mended, no matter how hard a man works." The weeks passed. Claire began to laugh again, softly at first when the baby kicked her chin, louder when the collie chased its tail around the yard. She planted herbs by the porch and hung curtains Luke didn't remember owning. Luke, in turn, found himself lingering near the house more often. He'd tell himself he was checking the fence line or oiling hinges, but truth was he liked hearing her hum while she worked. The baby's laughter had become the sound that greeted him home. One afternoon, a stranger rode up from town, a thin man in a long coat. "Looking for a woman named Claire," he said to Luke. "She left Denver with an infant that ain't hers. That baby's worth money to some folks back east." Luke's jaw tightened. "She's under my roof." "You got proof of what you're sayin'?" The man smirked. "Don't need proof to tell she don't belong here." Luke stepped closer, his voice low. "You'd best ride out before I decide you don't either." The stranger sneered but turned his horse. "You'll regret talking in strays, Cowboy." When he was gone, Luke found Claire in the garden, her hands trembling over the soil. She'd heard every word. "I didn't steal her," she said. "I swear it. Her mother, she was dying. She begged me to keep her safe till I could find kin. I believe you, Luke said simply. She blinked, startled. You do? He nodded. I've seen liars. You ain't one. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Thank you. Luke reached out, hesitated, then rested a hand on her shoulder. You and the little one stay as long as you need. Ain't nobody talking you off this land. That night, rain came heavy. The baby woke crying, thunder shaking the cabin. Claire tried to hush her, but exhaustion broke her voice. Luke rose, took the child gently, and paced the floor until she quieted. Claire watched from the bed, her heart tightening at the sight of the tall, quiet man rocking the child with such care. You're good with her, she whispered. He smiled faintly. Had a sister once. Didn't get to see her grow up. Guess this makes up for a little of that. The lantern flickered between them, and for the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt safe. By summer, Claire had woven herself into the ranch's life completely. The hands treated her like kin. The baby, whom she'd begun to call Hope, had her own cradle by the fire. Luke built a small room off the kitchen. So you ain't trippin' over the stove come winter, he'd said. When she saw it, finished smooth and sturdy, she covered her mouth and cried. One evening after supper, they sat watching the sky burn orange. Claire spoke softly. I remember now. My real name. It's Clara Whitmore. He looked at her, waiting. My father died in the mines. Mama remarried, but she passed soon after. I went east to work, fell in with people who weren't kind. When the woman on the train asked me to take her baby, I thought maybe that was my chance to do something right. Luke nodded. Seems to me you already have. She smiled through tears. You gave me a name when I'd lost my own. He shifted his hat. You earned it yourself. Autumn came golden and cool. The harvest was good, the cattle fattened well. Luke found himself whistling at dawn, something the hands teased him about for weeks. One crisp morning, as the baby toddled between them in the yard, Luke turned to Clara. You ever think about staying here for good? She froze. As what? He took off his hat, rubbing the brim. As yourself. As part of this place. I ain't much for talkin', but I figure you and Hope belong here, same as the sunrise. Clara's breath caught. Luke. He met her eyes, steady and sure. You don't owe me nothin'. Just don't leave because you think you have to.